The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, I just realized that my microphone is actually muted. So welcome to Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher. Thank you again for being with us. I really appreciate your time, and I really am very thankful for being with us. All right, folks, for this wonderful topic, or for this wonderful time that we have, we will be talking about starting a school. And you know what's very special about this? It is special because it's starting a school here in the US. So we'll get to know our wonderful expert who will be sharing with us some strategies. What is the school all about, and how this school is actually helping the representation of Filipinos in the general public. All right, so let me actually introduce to you our guest for today. Our guest today is Ms. Venessa Grace Manzano, who is the founder and school director of the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey. Venessa Manzano is a nonprofit expert, professional fundraiser, entrepreneur, educator, philanthropist, and a mentor. At present, she is the Senior Director of Development, Corporate and Foundation Relations at Columbia University Irving Medical Center. In 2008, she founded and is the school director of the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey, which promotes the learning of Filipino language and arts and the understanding of Filipino culture, values, and tradition to students of all ages. Venessa studied physical therapy at Northeastern University, and received her master's in public health at Boston University's School of Public Health, and master's degree in nonprofit management from Columbia University. She currently lives in northern New Jersey with her husband and three kids. So, without further ado, let's bring in our guest for today, Miss Vanessa Grace Manzano.
Hi, Alpha.
Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I am pretty good. Thank you. Well, thanks for joining us for this wonderful session.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. So I'm curious. Tell us, how have you been since the beginning of this year?
In general, everything has been, going well, both professionally and personally. Professionally as a fundraiser in the city, as a mom of three, balancing all the activities that my kids are participating in, and also doing Filipino school stuff. So yeah, so far so good. I can't complain.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful. And how's the Filipino School of New Jersey and New York doing since the beginning of this school year?
We're doing very well. We're pretty back to normal, I would say, pre-COVID times for the most part. Even though we have adjusted a little bit to some virtual platform learning for some of our programs, but so far, again, so far so good on that front also.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So our topic for today is really about starting a school.
Mhm.
And you've founded and continues to be the director of the Filipino School of New Jersey and New York. And I am curious, how is it really like in terms of starting a school? And in particular, I believe this is the only Filipino school in that area. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
So I mean, I moved to New York in 2005,
Uh-huh.
and my first job here was executive director of a small Filipino nonprofit in Jamaica, Queens, called FASI, which stands for Filipino American Human Services Inc. And throughout the 2 years that I've been there, I've gotten to know the Filipino community in New York City, and I've fallen in love with the community, and I've, I guess, developed a lot of relationships, even having finished my time there and moving on until now. And then around 2007, 2008, a time when most of my friends were settling down, having families of their own, we're trying to think about our kids and what do we want to teach our kids as they get older.
Mm,
And the idea of, what about Filipino heritage,
mm,
culture and stuff like that. So I thought about it. I'm like, what, in Massachusetts, when I grew up, we have Eskwelahan Filipino.
that's
It's,
right.
I guess, the longest running Filipino school in the country. And when I experienced that, I really appreciated everything I've learned there as well. And I'm like, you know what? They don't have that here in New York and New Jersey, which is kind of funny because, there's a lot of Filipinos here, and why not? So we assessed the market, what's
Mm,
happening. Was there ever a Filipino school? What is there right now at the
mhm,
time? So market research was a big thing, talking to key stakeholders in the Filipino community to see if there is an interest. um, just starting to build out that the idea and just get word that there might be this need that we need to fulfill. So the idea of the Filipino school was born out of the idea to fill that void, the need for an educational cultural resource for the Filipino community, as well as the non-Filipino community, especially those that are interested in it.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, that's how it started, Alpha. There was this big need, a big gap, and we were there to fill that void.
That's wonderful.
Hmm.
And if I recall, 2008, that was the time of recession.
Hmm.
And for you to actually start a school and really made it through after what? Uh, 18, 14 years by now?
Yeah, 14, 15
Right?
years. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for our viewers, the first step that you all did was to really analyze the market.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how, in terms of those people who may not be too familiar,
Yep.
did you go out and did you do survey? Where did you get the data in terms of the need and things like that? And how about funding? Where
Mhm.
did you get the funding?
Yep. So the first step, market research. We focused first on Filipino schools. Was there ever a Filipino school here in New York, New Jersey? From there, if there wasn't any, what about the Filipino organizations that are here? We have like 300 or more
Wow.
organizations, I believe, if it's not in the New York area, on the East Coast at least.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to determine, do they have some type of Filipino cultural education? And, how were those structured? Were they all throughout the year? Were they in schools? Where were they taught? What did they teach? And how long did they last? How were they funded? And learning from that, I moved on to other ethnicities, the Koreans,
Mm.
Chinese, French, Japanese. We assessed, how do they do it. I even had interviews with people on the staff, board members, executive directors, people who have founded and run these cultural organizations as well. And then afterwards, after gathering that data, we tried to do some piloting.
Mm.
Started with the little kids,
Mhm.
something more, cultural, songs, language, small groups. And then from that, we did an assessment based on a survey of the parents, what worked, what doesn't work. And from there, we just slowly grew and, improved upon whatever had to be fixed. So our first location was officially in Jersey City, and
Mhm.
I lived there. It was more convenient for myself.
Mhm.
From Jersey City, we moved on to Queens just
Mm.
because of my ties there. So I had connections to teachers. I hired from the community. Our instructors are the paid staff members. I myself am a volunteer. I
Mm.
ensure that our staff are paid because I think they deserve, being a teacher.
Mm.
It's a undervalued profession, and I think, we really do value their time. Most of them are full time at their other jobs. The Filipino
Mhm.
school for them is just something extra, and they're very dedicated and passionate about it. We select those who have that shared value with us. And then let's see, from Queens, I actually moved from Jersey City to Bergen County, another heavily populated Filipino community, and that's where we started our Bergen County classes. So that's 3. Um,
Mhm.
I've been living here in Bergen County since then, and then we've also ventured off into Rockland County because some of our teachers are from there, and we have had some classes in Manhattan as well as Staten Island. So the way we operate Alpha is we don't have one physical structure, a building,
Okay.
just because
Yeah.
I've learned. Um, it's difficult for families to come to one place, especially in the tri-state area. So
Mhm.
I think that we respond to the community's needs. Wherever you are, if as long as there's a big enough group that is showing the interest, we will go out to you. We'll bring our resources and programming to you. Just help us find the venue, help us find teachers, and then we will provide the instruction. So that's what's happened in Staten Island. We had a group of families that showed interest there, as well as Manhattan. And the funding, even though we are a nonprofit, it's hard to find grants,
Mhm.
federal, state, private foundation grants to support these kind of cultural programs. Um, the only thing that I've seen out there are for performing arts,
Mm.
nothing language. So, and
Mm.
that's a shared sentiment with the other ethnic organizations. The Filipino school gets its income mostly from the tuition that we charge.
Mhm.
So that's probably 95% of it. The remaining are just through the generosity of people who donate,
Mm.
or sales. We'll have sales where we will just upcharge a little bit so that the proceeds will benefit the school. So,
Wow, I could go in many directions just by listening in terms of what you just mentioned. I was
mhm.
going to say, wow, your passion for the Filipino culture, really brought you to really establishing this wonderful school. And
Mhm.
then the other thought that I have while listening to you was your model always been a traveling, I'm just going to use the word traveling school, or did that change in all these years that you've operated the Filipino school?
No, it's been the same. So
Okay.
I actually got that idea from, I used to work at Liberty Science Center in Jersey City.
Mm-hmm.
And, they focus on STEM education and science. And they do have programs where, I forgot what the actual name was, where they go into the inner cities and teach STEM. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was a great model. So again, we respond to the community. If there is a need and there's enough interest, we will go out there. So, like currently, I know there's an interest in Long Island. Someone's expressed interest in Brooklyn, as well as Central New Jersey and Western New Jersey and Connecticut.
Wow.
So,
Connecticut.
it's it's great.
Yeah.
It's great that there is interest. Now it's just to figure out, we have to learn more about these communities. Each one is different, and we want to make sure it works out for these different areas. So we have to
Mm.
assess.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
great. So going back to when you started the Filipino school,
Mhm.
how did you solidify the curriculum and what you are going to focus on in teaching children about the Filipino arts and culture?
So looking at Filipino cultural resources, there wasn't a lot at the time,
Okay.
which is different now. Nowadays, there are a lot of people putting together book. There are a lot of authors. There's a lot of people putting together programmings. So I think in instructing Filipino language, for example,
Mm-hmm.
there is nothing, um, I guess, formal about it. It's pretty much it's carte blanche.
Mm.
And what we did is we took a little bit of, let's say we found a written resource on how to teach, or worksheets, for example, how to teach the language, and they're all by themes. Hey, let's start with the alphabet. Let's move on to greetings. We were just thinking, what is practical for the child to learn, so that, let's say, after 8 weeks, they're a little conversational in the language, or they have some, basic understanding. So, anything practical that's every day. And we do it by theme. If not by theme, it's the holidays. So Halloween, we will do like a scary, scary child appropriate, age appropriate Halloween party where we talk about Philippine folklore, or stuff like that. So, and then we also look at the Philippine calendar where they have special holidays or occasions where we highlight and celebrate that as well. So I think we were just being creative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just build it and see what works.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And it's been working for the
Yes.
last 14 years.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, Vanessa, for doing
Thank you.
this. Yeah. All right. So I heard that it is a nonprofit organization. So
Hmm.
in Massachusetts, we would label these as 501(c), right? Is that the same in New Jersey and New York?
Hmm. Yep. So the 501(c)(3) is a federal designation, so that's
Okay.
applicable at the federal level. And you would have to also register in the state that you operate. So when you're filing the paperwork, not only do you apply for the 501c3 to get the tax exemption for a nonprofit organization, you will also have to register separately through the state that you're operating as a charity, or they have different terminology, but you have to also do it through your state.
Okay. Could you walk us through the process of the 501(c)(3)? I know I've heard some rumblings that, oh, you need to get a lawyer. Oh, you need to do this. I know it's been a while since you did this one, but from your recollection of how you filed for your 501(c), can you help our viewers understand that process?
Yes. So luckily, when I filled out the paperwork, I've had experience in establishing a nonprofit, because one of my prior jobs was with a beginning stage organization called Ascend. It was it's based in New York City, and that organization focused on Asian Americans in the finance and accounting fields. And it has grown to this day. It's a national organization now, and it has chapters in Canada and other countries. But I helped administratively. I helped file the paperwork for that. So I'm luckily from that I was able to do it. But if you don't have that experience, you can get a lawyer, because the legalities, especially if you don't understand it. I didn't need one, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So it's not a scary experience. There's a lot of pages, but I think since then it's been more simplified. I think you can do it online. You will need to have a plan. Always come prepared with a plan, even a business plan. In the beginning, I wasn't sure whether to incorporate this as a nonprofit or a business.
That's right.
Had two suggestions, and I actually had to consult with the Small Business Administration. It's a federal agency that helps small businesses. And they suggested that, why not do it as a nonprofit? They think it's more better that way. And plus, the tax exemption would help also with the supplies and grants if we ever have to apply for any. So yeah, business plan, you need to know who your target audience. So there are templates for this. You can go online, and people can feel free to email me after the show. I can provide the resources. They're free, and where you can go to speak to other people. So yeah, and I think there's a fee. At the time, I paid $750 just for the 501c3 application. And then there's another fee for the state also. And in terms of funding and starting up your own organization, I just used my own funding, maybe about $2,000 to $3,000 in just applications, as well as conducting your needs assessment, the surveys. If you want to do a pilot program, you would need to rent out the space, just a little bit for the supplies. If you want to conduct a meeting with some of the key stakeholders or people that you might possibly invite to be on your board. So just stuff like that. If you can afford about $2,000 to $3,000 as to start up on your own, then you can. But if not, maybe get a small group of supporters who share your vision, and pool the money that way. Yeah.
That's a great advice, Vanessa. Yeah, because not a lot of folks out there may have $2,000, $3,000 to really their capital to start up in terms of developing their own 501(c) or their organization or company. So pooling a group of friends may help. Yeah. So I heard from you, board of directors. And I know that in the world of 501(c), that can also be confusing. So on your end, how did you select who's going to be your founding board members?
For me personally, I needed people who were who share the vision,
Mhm.
willing to help, but you also need a mixture of talents. You need someone with a finance background, possibly.
Mhm.
Someone who is also knowledgeable of running a nonprofit, how to work with board members, maybe someone in marketing. So it depends on your needs. You yourself, you have to determine what your strengths are and what your, I wouldn't call it weaknesses, but areas where you can get support from others to help out with. So I knew people in the community, and I just picked the ones I trusted also. And I kept this small. Our board has only 4 members. Um, when you apply for 501c3, you need technically 3 at least. So, and I like to keep it small. It's manageable. I know a lot of, there are some organizations with large board members, but our organization is small. Our operating budget is about 25,000. So I just want it to be, manageable for now.
That's
Mhm.
great. That's very smart in terms of like making sure that you're putting in your founding board of directors who may have the expertise that the founder may not have.
Mhm.
So that's a very good move when
Yeah.
it comes
Thank
to
you.
starting your own school. All right. Um, Fast forward
Mhm.
14 years later. What does the Filipino School of New Jersey and New York look like nowadays? How many teachers do you have? How many students do you currently have? All of those great things that
Yep.
make it the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey.
So we have, let's say, it fluctuates about 15 to 18 teachers. Um, and our students for the children's group, roughly 60, and that's spread out in the 4 locations, our main locations. So that would be Bergen County, Rockland County, Queens, and Jersey City, Secaucus area. And the average age range of our students are between 5 and possibly 16 is the oldest. And that's for our children's Sayawan na, that means dance now, program. Sometimes, depending if we're able to do it, our Sayawan na program can evolve to where we add the language component. But right now, we've just been focusing on dance, especially coming out of the pandemic. We just wanted to see how it goes. And in addition to our children's programs, we have adult language program, which is currently being taught virtually. So we have a beginner 1 and a beginner 2. The children's classes are offered twice a year during the spring and the fall, and they're about 8 weeks long. They meet once a week on the weekends, or even evenings on the weeknights, depending on the availability of the instructors. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours each class. And at the end, there's a culminating recital and graduation for all the students where they perform in front of their family and friends. And there's also potluck, or not potluck, but some food or refreshments, and the giving of the certificates. And then for our adult language class, it's 5 weeks, 2 hours a week, so a total of 10 hours of instruction. And our instructors are actually adjunct faculty at local universities. They teach Filipino and Philippine history at either the College of Mount St. Vincent, that's where Corey Aquino had gone to school. Also, where is this? NYU, Columbia University, Rutgers. So our language instructors are definitely knowledgeable, and not only do they teach the language, but also they add in the cultural context of the language. So our students include non-Filipinos, those that are interested in learning the language because of his significant other. They have plans to travel to the Philippines or are even moving to the Philippines. Some of our students are siblings, spouses that take it together. And the great thing about our all of our classes actually is the people who go through them, they tend to develop close bonds to each other. They're very close at the end, and they maintain their relationships or friendships beyond the class. So that's great to see. That's something that I grew up with, going to the the Escuela en Filipino in Massachusetts, where we're all very close. We know the families, and even afterwards, we're still we know each other from way back then. So yeah.
That's wonderful, Vanessa. I'm particularly interested with the adult Filipino language instruction.
Mhm.
So, what happens if, say, for example, one of your adult students is done with the first 5 weeks? Is
Mhm.
there like another level until they? How does that look like if they've
Yeah.
mastered, a class already?
So there is a beginner one, and then we invite them to beginner two, if they're able to. We still have plans. I know some of our previous students know about this plan, to do a beginner three or a level three, which is more immersive. We want the plan for beginner three is to immerse the student with native Filipino speakers, possibly seniors in a nursing home who have more to share, and we want to develop something that's intergenerational, something that benefits the older Filipinos as well. So that's something we're looking into, in partnership with other Filipino organizations or even nursing homes. So after beginner two, what we refer to the students to do and to continue with their and maintain their language learning is to simply like watch Netflix. You need to immerse yourself around the language, even if you're in a home or a home environment where no one is speaking the language. That's the best way for you to keep it. Just hear it all the time. Music. Go out to anything that you can hear, or even call your parents or speak to your lola or lolo on the phone or FaceTime. But you need to continue surrounding yourself with it. So that's what we encourage them to do. We also, our classes, we tell the adult students that it's a safe space. Make mistakes. That's how you learn. Just be comfortable, because a lot of them have shared that they want to learn how to speak Tagalog or whatever language their family speak, but it's just the teasing, or it's just they don't feel comfortable or supported when they do it at home. So learning through us, we provide that safe space so that they can continue and start their journey that way.
So, Vanessa, since it's online, is it open to every adult across the US and maybe around the world?
Yes,
Oh,
that's correct.
great.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's changing the way that you are expanding the reach for the
Mhm.
Filipino school. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how about other dialects? I speak
Mhm.
Ilocano and I'm
Mhm.
still very good at it, but I'm hearing that, in the Philippines, it's not as um, greatly appreciated as it used to be. And what I'm hearing is that less and less number of children are practicing Ilocano. Uh,
Mm.
have you ever thought of incorporating, the different dialects in the Philippines in at your school?
Yes. So, yes, there is interest on the other languages. And I've had this idea, which I haven't done yet, is to have a showcase, or even a session where we do like a round robin and set up stations where there are the different languages. So, for example, Tagalog, Ilocano, Visaya, Ilonggo, so that we have the individuals who are participating sit down at a table where they're learning about the language, and then it's like speed dating, and then the next, just a little taste. So that was one of my ideas on how to introduce that. You know, just as an introductory lesson, but in terms of like actual lessons similar to the Tagalog ones that we're offering, it's hard because Not a lot. Yeah, you're right. Like not a lot of people will reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this specific language." So there's not enough to create a class for it. But since the pandemic, a lot of people have done instruction online. And I've been seeing more and more organizations. So it's not just us teaching Filipino language and culture online. And I think that's a great thing because, you know, back in 2008, it was so sad not knowing, we want to do this. There's this big need, but we can't do it alone. And what resources can we use? But over the years, like I was just sharing, talking to you about it earlier in the conversation, more and more people are, out there, especially the younger generation who are now having their own kids. They're being more innovative and using technology now and social media where, they're teaching the language through, let's say, little events, pop-up events. Let's do a book reading here. Let's make halo halo here. Let's do a story time here. So I think we're at a great age where we're starting to do more and more together, and there's more of us doing it, teaching Filipino culture and just spreading it using, technology too. So, and that also includes the other languages. So I've seen another organization offering, Ilocano. So yeah, there's other options as well.
Wonderful. Vanessa, I feel like you impact through your school a lot of Filipino lives, children and adults. But when we come back, I'm actually interested what you think is the biggest contribution of your school to the greater society, especially on this part of the United States, the East Coast.
Okay.
So why don't we take a break? And we'll see you all in a few minutes.
Juan Lu and his puppets face to face with special guests Makata Tawanan, Jess Box, and the Lunaria Marionette Show.
Salita. Alam mo, Tito Angelo, kung wala ako, magsasalita ka mag-isa. Kung wala ako, wala kang masusuot. Kung wala ako, wala kang nakakain.
November 13, Sunday, 7 p.m. at the La Verdad Auditorium in Apalit, Pampanga. Buy your tickets now and see you soon, face to face.
The new channel is an online alternative new media platform of online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows as seen on screen. Imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our channel is a responsible global 24 over 7 platform that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, and all of the best and brightest Filipino talents around the world. Please continue to support Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher on select Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, folks, welcome back. Thanks for being with us. All right, let's bring back Miss Venessa Manzano and let's get her thoughts in terms of what does she think about the greatest contribution of the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey to the greater society?
I think it's just putting the Filipino um, culture on the map. So I want it to be mainstream. So I think we've been able to do that, especially during specific months, Filipino American History Month, like October. May is Asian American Heritage Month. June, you have Philippine Independence Day, and it's a month-long celebration. So it's not just the Filipino community that we're serving, but also the wider community. So now people know that there are Filipinos. We're very successful. We have contributed to the fabric of American society and globally. And, we are here. So I think we did our part as a school to just, educate people about our culture and our language and to, invite them to come to our country as well back in the Philippines. So
That's great. So, Vanessa, as you continue then to grow and build your school, what are some interesting trends and patterns that you are seeing among the students of this generation
mhm.
compared to, let's just say, in 2008 when you were just starting your school?
Yeah. So when we started, we focused on the younger children. As
Mm-hmm.
they get older, especially these days, children in America, they are involved in so many things. It's
Yeah.
not just, Philippine culture. I mean, I myself, I admit, I have 3 kids. I
Mm-hmm.
have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they are not students all the time at the Filipino school, I try to teach them as best as I can when I can. They know the work I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I do my best on my own to try to teach them Filipino. My husband's Filipino American, but he does not speak. So
He needs to enroll. He's probably enrolled in your adult language, Tagalog.
yes. um, but I think a challenge is just trying to be a priority in these families, especially when they get to the age of, let's say, 12. When they age out, the child will show their own interests in other things. So there is this gap where between 12, let's say 18, by the time they go to college, we
Mhm.
don't have a lot of students in that age range.
Mm.
So how do we get them interested? It's tough. I mean, you have to compete with all of these other priorities, especially nowadays as a child up in America. You
Mhm.
know, it's not the same when we were growing up. So I think that is
Yeah.
the biggest challenge that I see. But other than that, I I don't see anything else.
All right. Are there any challenges that your school is facing currently, and how are you addressing them?
Um, I mean, I wouldn't call it a challenge. It's just, the sign of the times. There's a lot of other sources, educational sources out there, like I described before,
Mhm.
that provide language instruction, for example. So, you know, they do it differently, and it's a market, so it's something available to people to take advantage of. So, I always like to do some things that are different, and offer something that, might be a little different. But, again, people, there's so many creative people these days. I think in order to overcome, just doing the same thing over and over again, what helps is partnering, establishing partnerships with people. And, I think with more partners, you're able to come up with other ideas and reach bigger audiences. And I think it's nice, especially with the Filipino community, in my generation, to see a collaboration, people working together. It's not that crab mentality anymore. We're over that. It doesn't help at all. So we're here as a united people, and I think it's better that way. There are benefits to working together as well. So
Mhm.
that's how I see overcoming, the many different resources out there, but just partner together and do something.
That's right. Yeah. How about any future exciting projects that you and the rest of your team at the Filipino school are thinking right now, or maybe planning for the future?
So right now we are working with a Rondalia group,
Mm.
hoping to offer Rondalia classes.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
something similar that Eskwelahan Pilipina has. They've been doing it for years, but we don't have that here in our area. So we're exploring
Mhm.
that partnership. We're also trying to look at other specific workshops. Right now, we've been doing the annual parol making workshop for over
Mm.
10, 11 years. So, that's a great hit, but, there has to be other things that people like to do or would be interested in doing. And we were thinking about making little small vintas, which are the
Mm.
boats, yung mga bangka,
Mhm.
wooden versions of that, where people can decorate the sails. And we talk about, the history of the vinta, the different
Mm.
festivals that involve the vinta. So I think another thing that people might like are these little kits that you can order and do it at home. We could teach virtually, we could teach it in person. So maybe something that we can put together are the educational kits.
Oh,
More
I
of
love it.
that.
Yeah. I love all of these innovation and partnership and
Mhm.
future projects. Oh, if I were close, I'd enroll my daughter over there to, maybe some one of these future projects, the Vinta. That's very
Mhm.
interesting. I don't think I know how to do that myself.
Well, we try to make it easy for everybody.
And the parol, and folks who don't know
Mhm.
about parol, it's the Christmas wreath. It's a special, right?
Yes.
We call the parol, and
Mhm.
I honestly don't know how to make the parol anymore. I think I still know how to make the
Oh, the
tail,
tail,
the
the
tail.
buntot.
Yes,
Yes.
the tail. But I
Uh-huh.
think with the bamboo piece and things like that,
That's the hard part, just
yeah,
putting the frame together. Yes.
right. I
Hmm.
think once I have the frame, then I can easily
Hmm.
patch it up with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Japanese paper, right?
Yes.
You use the Japanese
Papel de
paper.
Japón.
Okay, there you
Well,
go.
sometimes we use just the tissue paper that you buy at the dollar
Oh,
store. Or
right,
gift wrapping paper. Again, if you want to be creative, you can
right.
get the gift wrapping paper with the different designs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's great.
Mhm.
Okay, any tips that you can give to any individual who may be thinking of starting their own school, either maybe here in the East Coast, similar to what you're doing, or maybe outside of this area, but still within the US, and, still focusing on promoting the Filipino heritage?
Yep. So you should plan and be organized. You have to have a long-term plan. Let's say stretch it out to maybe 1 to 3 years. Where would you like to be now, and where would you like to be in 3 years? Then from there, assess your environment, your community, what is out there now, what is not there now. Find your partners, who's there to support you, who shares your vision, who can you bring on your team and build this. And then also don't be afraid to ask other people for, their guidance. Again, this thing is definitely a learning process and continues to be. I love learning. I love teaching. Even though I'm not a professional teacher, I like it. This is my passion. I do this because I love it. And I think that if you're going to do it, you have to love it too. There are times where it feels like a sacrifice, but, at the end, it's worthwhile. Just to get that individual that says, you know what, I really appreciate your school. I learned so much, or because of you, because of your school, I was able to do this, or I've made so many great friends, stuff like that. But, again, I think the passion, organization, knowing what you're working with, and just working together with partners, it should work out. If I'm available, if you want to reach out, I'm happy to give advice and guidance, and then I can also point to other resources in your area as well, even if you're not near me.
Oh, great. That's so generous of you, Vanessa, for you to be able to help out those who may have some questions in terms of starting their new school. And where can they find you? And how can they get in touch with you?
So I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website. So just find the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey. You can Google us. You will find us there. We also have an email address, which is info@philschool-nynj.org. We also have a phone number. It's better to just email us. Yep, and then we will respond whenever we can.
Okay, wonderful. Vanessa, I know I heard from you some of these wonderful comments from people, children that you have touched since you started the Filipino school, but was there ever a very inspiring story that you can leave to our viewers that will tell them, ooh, I gotta do this to represent the Filipino culture in the US or wherever they are in other parts of the world?
I can't remember just one. There are just moments where someone will message me, something, and then it'll really bring a tear to my eye, just because it's very touching. It's like, the work is worthwhile. But I can't I can't pick just
I'm
I can't
sure
think of one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. You've given in just this short, almost an hour of conversing with you, you've given a lot of insights and almost like step by step in terms of starting a school. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And yeah, on behalf of the new channel, we wish you a lot of blessings, a lot of good luck. And I personally hope that you will impact not just the children and the families here on the East Coast, New England, but around the world.
Oh, thank you, Alpha. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Continue to do what you're doing.
Mhm.
I am inspired by what you do. You're a very busy mom. You have your day job, and you run this wonderful school out of your love for the country and out of your love in expanding the Filipino culture to everybody here. So thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it with my team and everybody who supports it. So it's a team effort, definitely.
Great, wonderful. Well, Vanessa, salamat again. Maraming salamat and mabuhay to the Filipino School of New Jersey and New York.
Maraming salamat din.
Wonderful. And folks, thank you for being with us for the last hour. I want to thank you for being with us and for always supporting the Once a Teacher, Always a Teacher. And if you have any questions to our wonderful and very generous, very engaging guest speaker today, Miss Venessa Grace Manzano, please remember to email her and check out the Filipino School of New York and New Jersey because they are an amazing group of Filipino volunteers and Filipino team who is doing the work to really expand the awareness of the Filipino heritage, culture and arts, and Filipino language. All right, folks, thank you for being with us, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.